I got somebody here, David, in the studio. You might be jealous. He's also here to play ball. What do you think about what Russ said?
It's Russ being Russ.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Joining me
More
now
power to him.
on behalf of Doveman Plus Care to celebrate how fans impact the game during March Madness, Clippers guard, former National Player of the Year. I have so many titles for this guy, JJ Redick. Let's start with the Clippers before we get to March Madness, shall we? So last night the Nuggets gave you your third straight loss. You're 5-8 since All-Star break. How do we get back on track?
We need everybody in the lineup, first of all. You know, last night was a tough night. We got into the hotel in Denver about 4 a.m. Blake and DJ didn't make the trip.
Right.
So the odds were stacked against us a little bit. But we're not playing our best basketball this season. I think we have to get back to being great defensively. When we were 14-2 to start the year, that was our identity, being great on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, defense wins championships. You said last night, I don't know what to expect from this team anymore. We're in a bad place right now. Was that just the heat of the moment, or you want to explain that?
No, I think if I get a direct question, I'm going to give a direct answer. And Brad Turner, one of our beat writers from the LA Times, he asked me, you know, what did I expect going into the game, given the travel, given that Blake and DJ didn't make the trip. And I just was honest with him. I don't know what to expect with our team right now. You know, we're playing fairly inconsistent basketball, and I'm an eternal optimist. And when I feel like we're right, I feel like we can beat anybody. I feel like we're as good as anybody in the league.
The Clippers, more than any other team, I believe, in the West, they're going in every year. There are always so many expectations placed upon you guys. They're going to make it. They're going to win. They're going to be in the finals, at least the Western Conference Finals. They have all the weapons. I hear it, the coaching. Yet and still, our basketball power index gives you guys a 16% chance of having a home court advantage. How important is playoff seeding for you?
Well, if you look historically, it's very important. And even going back 2 years when we played Houston in the conference semifinals, you know, we had to play a Game 7 on the road of a very hard-fought series. And the series prior to that, we had a Game 7 at home against the Spurs where we won. And so I think playing those first 2 games at home and knowing that you get that Game 7 at home is very important. We got to figure out a way to catch the Jazz for sure.
Yeah, okay, so you, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, all can be free agents this summer. How's it look? How's it looking?
I think you have to live in the moment.
Yeah.
I think you have to live in the moment.
That's the right response.
You know, and even though that there's a lot of people tampering with me, trying to get me to come to the Lakers. No, I'm just kidding. You have to live in the moment. And we knew coming into this year that we were all going to be free agents this summer, and it's not something that we've even discussed throughout the season. We're trying to be our best right now.
I understand that because you have to live in the moment, but the reality is you also have to make plans. Do you feel as if the chemistry is off on the team? I don't know, and I'm not even, and everyone knows, look, this is the honest to God truth. I am a Lakers fan, but I do feel like you guys have so many weapons. I don't know what's missing, though, that doesn't push the team over the top.
Yeah, I think chemistry is important. I think joy is important, too. Okay. I think if you look at the best teams, when the best teams are playing their best, there's joy that's manifested in how they play, and you see that all the time with the Warriors. I think they're sort of the perfect example of that. You see it on Steph's face or Klay's face or the bench's reaction to things. They're kind of the prime example of that right now, and I think for any team to be great, but our team to be great, we have to find that joy.
You guys don't have the joy. Why is that?
Losing. Losing brings joy.
Consistently.
No, I think there's like the old adage that winning cures all, and I really believe that. Like if we were to go on a 5 or 6 game winning streak right now, I think we, mentally and emotionally, spiritually, all that stuff would get lifted.
Wow, that's a nice statement and sentiment. And then you said you need to have everybody back in place for that to happen. Blake Griffin, DJ, everybody needs to be ready to play in order for that to happen. So when you have all your guys on the court, are you a weapon here on the West?
Well, we have to believe that, and I do believe that. So, yeah, I think we are.
Okay. Shall we switch and talk about...
That wasn't very convincing.
Okay, all right. I mean, well, I don't know.
How are your Lakers doing?
Oh, look at him taking some TV tag time. Oh, not well. We're resting our stars. I don't know if you've heard.
Yeah, I've heard.
You've heard about that. But anyway, I'll tamper later. Let's talk about March Madness, shall we? The Duke Blue Devils. They are playing well. So tell me a little bit about your team. How far do you think they can go?
Well, I like this team. I like how we're playing right now. It was an interesting year. We had the 3 freshmen get hurt early in the year. Grayson had an injury and a suspension. Coach missed 4 weeks with a back injury. But we're playing our best basketball at the right time. They showed incredible grit and toughness to win 4 games in 4 nights in the ACC tournament. I actually, about 7 years ago, I stopped filling out brackets.
Why?
Because at the end, it always ended up being Duke as the winner. So I was like, well, I'm going to save myself the time. Okay. You know, if I had filled out a bracket, there's one game, actually there's 2 games that I would have picked in the first round for sure, and one was the Northwestern game. You would
have picked Northwestern to win?
I would have picked Northwestern.
Oh, it's good, right?
I have a special tie to that school.
Why? What's the tie?
Well, Chris Collins was my assistant coach at Duke. He's when I say he's like an older brother, I mean that in sort of the most literal way you can take that.
Is he?
He gives me more crap than anyone I know, and he was actually a groomsman in my wedding. We're that close, yeah. And I know Doug's here. Doug's with ESPN and does a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So Doug is like family too.
That's interesting you say that, because I think my co-host had an opportunity to chat with Chris Collins earlier. So let's take a listen.
All right.
JJ and I have a special bond. When I became the assistant coach at Duke, he was the first player that I recruited as an assistant there, and we connected instantly. And you know, our relationship is more than player-coach. You know, we went through a lot of good times, bad times, amazing times together, and I love him like he's my little brother. For me, when I watched him go through his journey at Duke those last 2 years, he became the player that I always wanted to be, and to be there by his side and help him, you know, achieve all his dreams, become a lottery pick, become a great pro. You know, he is someone that I love dearly, and, you know, he's part of my family, and I'm so proud of everything he's accomplished.
Man, you feel like crying.
I actually had some tears yesterday.
You did?
I did have some tears yesterday. Yeah. That means a lot come from him. We actually exchanged some emotional texts last night. I was actually getting ready to play the Nuggets yesterday and watching the end of the game. And when the cameras panned to Doug at the end of the game, and you saw his emotions, I got a little emotional. As a father now too, you just get that, and how proud Doug was of Chris. And I told CC last night, I said, you know, it was an awesome day for anyone that loves you. It was an awesome day for me. It was an awesome day for his family. Anybody in the Duke family. It was just an awesome day.
That was really nice. And it's funny because I listened to you say this. Everything he said about you, you said about him before you even heard that. So the relationship is genuine.
It is genuine.
Okay, so how far do they go?
You know, I'd like to see them make the Sweet 16. I mentioned earlier about, you know, living in the moment. Like, those guys are living in the moment, and really that's all you can do during March Madness. Like, that's what you have to do. You have to live in the moment. Whether you're a player, a fan, an alumni, it's all about just the passion and the care of being in this moment.
Now, you know too well about what it takes to advance, survive and advance. So let's talk about Grayson Allen. What's your relationship with him?
I know him. You know, I've talked to him a little bit over the past couple of years. When he was deciding whether or not to leave school last April, him and I had a long phone conversation about you know, my thoughts and kind of what the process would be like. And ultimately, he went back to school, and he's in a position to win another national championship. So
what would be the advice for Grayson Allen as they get ready? Because it's been a roller coaster year in terms of what's happened with him, and where people are saying where's his head, and how his temper can sometimes take him out of the game. Where does he need to be, like, in terms of his mindset as they get ready to start the tournament? Well,
I read a couple quotes that he gave the other day during their sort of pre-NCAA media day, and it seemed like his head was in the right place. Because, you know, he talked about how you have to sort of balance the line between having your edge and then being smart. And for him to be great, he has to play with emotion. I'm the same way. Like, when I'm at my best, I'm playing with emotion. That's why both of us rubbed a lot of people the wrong way as Duke basketball players.
You got to play with emotion. Is there a way, though, to control that emotion? First of all, I'm all in with the emotion. That drives you. I get it, and I understand it, and I respect it, and I like to see it on the court. How do you control that so it doesn't take over the game?
Well, let's keep in mind that Grayson, I think, is 20 years old.
Right.
When I was at Duke, at my worst, you know, with the opposing fans, I was 18 or 19 years old. So I think with maturity comes control. And we're asking a lot of college basketball players to control their emotions. And it's the same thing with fans. Like, we're asking fans to control their emotions. I mean,
that's a lot to ask.
That's a lot to ask.
Believe, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with maturity comes control.
All right. You said the Duke villain, in air quotes, is a myth.
I did say that on my podcast.
Yeah.
It's a perpetuated myth. Because, I mean, we could talk about Luke Kennard up here. We could talk about Jason Tatum. We could talk about the coaching job that Coach K has done. But your first question to me about Duke was about Grayson Allen. And so when the conversation continues to be about sort of this, whoever we've designated as sort of the bad guy on Duke, it gets perpetuated.
So you think that it's a myth? And my first question was actually, how far do you think they're going to go? But you think that it's, but you think, that was my second question. Yeah. So you think it's a myth and that it's perpetuated by the media, not necessarily by people like to have that villain, is what you think?
People always
on
like
the
to
outside
have a villain.
looking
People like to root for, their team, and they like to root against other teams, specifically Duke. Let's be real. Let's be real.
It sucks to be great, right?
I didn't say that.
Yeah, I did. I said it. Thank you so much. You're really great. What's your podcast? How can we find it? Are you doing it? Are you taking a break?
I'm taking a little break from the podcast, but it is available on iTunes, Spotify, anywhere you can find podcasts. It's called the JJ Redick Vertical Podcast with JJ Redick. I did it with Yahoo.
Cool.
I think I did 40 episodes in 40 weeks. It was a lot.
I'm going to start tampering. Do you want to work at ESPN when you retire? More tampering. You already know Doug.
We'll
talk about this later. JJ Redick, Clippers Cavs tomorrow. Make sure everyone checks it out. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on.
Okay.